Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Don't Praise the Machine. This is episode number 143. As always, I'm one of your hosts. I go by the name Alexander Holland. And as always, I'm sat next to my number one pod partner. This time, he is there once again digitally. It's much more comfortable for me when he's not in the room with me, so I can be free to express myself and not have a whole lot of self-consciousness. He's gotta be the one called
John Maloney. Hi, everyone.
And John Maloney. Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to 2024.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Frohes neues Jahr, as they say in Germany. And John, I'm back in Berlin. It's snowing outside. Quite a different feeling for me to just a couple of days ago when I was in sunny Adelaide swimming in the ocean. Now I'm back to that deep snow. It was very snowy today. Actually, where does the podcast find you this evening?
I'm in Brooklyn, specifically in the neighborhood of Greenpoint, aka Little Poland. So I want to say Dobrze, tak, and Nostrovia to my Polish friends here in the neighborhood.
Philip and Magda. Can you say that again? And can you put the names Philip and Magda at the start of it? Because they're
yeah. I mean, I think those were just
Polish
random
fans.
Polish words, but I've been picking them up along the way. People say, what do they say? Dobrze, tak, Nostrovia, Philip and Magda. And I want to say, I wish I should have found out what
that.
Happy New Year is in Polish. I mean, it is amazing around here, the extent of the Polishness. I was quite surprised by it because people said, oh, yeah, it's Little Poland. And I thought, all right, whatever. There might be like a pierogi restaurant or something. But you walk down Nassau Avenue, and all of the street signs are in Polish. And you walk into bakeries and there's just people talking in Polish. It's great.
Wow.
And anytime I want a meat parcel, I can just basically throw a tennis ball and hit a high quality meat parcel shop. So I'm loving that.
And how's winter in New York? Is it just like Kevin McAllister's Christmas in Home Alone 2? That's my only reference for New York at Christmas time.
I watched that the other day because I don't know that I'd ever actually watched it all the way through. I was a big...
No way. You'd not watched Home Alone 2 all the way through?
I couldn't remember having done so.
Wow.
I mean, I was big on Home Alone 1. I must have at some point, but not for many, many, many years. So I watched it and I thought, great, this is basically charting my walking tour for tomorrow, because I thought, I'll go to Trump Tower, then I'll go to Trump Burger, then I'll go to and funnily enough, I was reading an article about it was very Trumpian, this dispute that broke out between, I think it was Chris Columbus, who was the director or producer of Home Alone 2, basically saying, the only way that we were allowed to use Trump's real estate as a set or as a filming location was if we allowed him to do a cameo in the film. And a number of other people have said that about Trump, because he at a certain point, it was fashionable to film in Trump locations as a kind of icon of New York. And Trump came out and said, no, that's not accurate. You begged me to do it, and you're just a kind of Hollywood has-been who's lying, and I did an amazing cameo, and I really made the movie.
Fake news. They begged me. They had a lot of questions. They begged me be in the movie.
I was very busy, but I did it. And I loved it. I think it was maybe better than the original. Certainly more brutal. I thought the wet bandits basically were subjected to what would probably be defined as torture under international law in Home Alone 2. It went beyond hijinks and into torture, but I like that.
That would be fantastic if if there's sort of Home Alone, because I think they've done Home Alone 3 potentially. Even streaming, they might have even used the intellectual property for like Home Alone 5, 6, 7, and 8. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've not kept up with it, but I I like the idea that just with each passing Home Alone, they go deeper and deeper till eventually, like Harry and Marv are just subjected to Abu Ghraib style torture at the hands of some child, just like naked on standing on a milk crate with like a garbage bag at their head, while the child like menaces them with a Doberman and has heavy metal music blaring at them. Kill me, Marv! Kill me!
Oh God! And then it's like Home Alone 7 is set in the International Criminal Court, and it's just the story of Kevin McAllister. I mean, it was a nice pretext for kind of stand your ground laws. Basically, I think that was part of that groundswell.
That's true. That's true. It totally is. It totally is stand your ground laws. If you break into my house, I have the right to do whatever the fuck hijinks I want to you. I can do whatever I want.
Proportionality goes out the window
with glue and flamethrowers.
I can just electrocute you and set fire to your beanie. You can't do anything.
So I'm back in Berlin town, John, and I've just come off a post-indulgent Christmas 3-day water fast. And I've had a couple of meals, so I'm real in a good mood because, boy, oh boy, those water fasts are really boring. It's just about just speaking of Abu Ghraib, forget about it. 3-day water fast is if they just subjected the members, if they just took the people from Guantanamo and just said 3-day water fast, nothing but soda water and salt, I tell you what, all the truths would have spilled out. That's all you got to do, because I was hallucinating. It was crazy. But I had my first meal today, which is always the classic. I have 100 grams chicken breast, and I'm absolutely firing on all cylinders.
That's great.
And I'm happy to tell you that I'm 14 kilograms lighter. I'm emaciated. I look sick. Everybody in my building said, "You look sick.
You've got a disorder." And he said, thank you very much. What would happen? So you said you broke it with 100 grams of chicken breast. I mean, I would be tempted to break a water fast with 500 grams of creamy carbonara. What would happen if I did that?
Then you explode. I don't know what would happen. I've watched people on YouTube. I don't know. I've watched people on YouTube and they claim to have broken these 72-hour water fasts with much more extravagant and calorie-dense meals. How true that is, I don't know. They say that there's, I don't know how dangerous. I think really the only dangers with fasting start coming in when you go beyond 72 hours. I think your body's more or less the same after 72 hours. But certainly if you go beyond 72 hours, if you went 2 weeks, as one of my dear friends has, of a water fast, I think if you had 500 grams of creamy carbonara, that might be the end of you. Which would be hilarious, to die from carbonara. But I think you have to be, they say that you have to be careful. It's called refeeding, which I love because it sounds like something that a mother would need to do to an infant, which I just like, I'm just refeeding. So you're supposed to have tiny little meals to reintroduce your stomach to food again. So typically what I do is I have a little cup of chicken stock with hot water, which is actually really delicious. If you've never done it, you don't need to be on a fast, but just cup is basically like chicken stock tea. It's delicious, salty and yum. And I do that, and then an hour later I have my first meal. But I've probably actually eaten a bit more than I should have today because it's meant to just be the 100 grams of chicken.
Yeah.
And then I had some, my mum gave me some Australian macadamias for Christmas, and my mum gave me some men's fruit chocks for Christmas.
I mean, I'm in the home of
my mum.
I'm in the home of sick food monstrosities, so I'd probably end my water fast with a Wendy's new pretzel bun baconator and maybe a packet of Reese's Pieces, and just be writhing on the floor with stomach cramps.
What have you had anything fast foody, or has it all just been nice restaurant-y meals back to Balthazar?
It's definitely been a very food-oriented trip, but I've I was joking before about pierogi, but I've had some great Polish food around here. I have had like a classic diner meal. I had a Greenpoint All-Star. They called it a Greenpoint All-Star, which was a chicken parm in a basically in a hero bun with various fixins. I love that.
Yeah.
And
like a
I did a
chicken cutlet in a
Chinese
hero
food.
bun. Yeah.
I did Chinese for Christmas Day, which I didn't realize until recently is a big thing here because I guess it started with the apparently with a lot of the Jewish community going to Chinese restaurants, two communities who were indifferent to Christmas getting together and enjoying a forced holiday together. So I took part in that, which was great fun. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely on my list to do more. Just more loaded items. I need more loaded. I need more things with triple and double in the name.
Having come back from Adelaide to Berlin, I had a story told to me just before I left Adelaide, which made me think of you and reminded me of an anecdote that you've told on the podcast before, because something happened in Adelaide to one of my relatives at a restaurant just before I left, which proved a point that I have loved making to people over the years. It's like an observation that I've made about the cultural difference between Germany and Australia. And this thing happened just before I left, and it was just so glorious to be right about this observation that I have made, because I've pointed out to people so many times. So you will remember, John, that in 2022, you were visiting me in Berlin, and we went to, it's one of the favorite locations, probably the location that should really sponsor the podcast, which is Das Klo. Can you tell everyone a little bit about, just quickly, about the restaurant, the bar, Das Klo, that we went to?
Sure. Das Klo is a kind of theme restaurant, I guess, which the theme of which is
bar restaurant.
Yeah, bar restaurant. The theme of which seems to be kind of campy, poo-based humor and monsters.
Toilet horror.
And it's been going since 1973. So long before the wall came down.
Do you know that do you know that because you've now got Das Klo memorabilia around your house in Melbourne with the date on it?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I have various Das Klo facts cemented in my brain because I've got like a Das Klo a coaster in my study, and a Das Klo sign above my toilet, which is like a man attempting to misuse a plunger, because that's the kind of comedy they love at Das Klo. Is a man trying to plunge his own head.
It's like a man. Or don't you have another one where it's saying, oh, this is not how you use a toilet brush, and it's a cartoon of a guy trying to wipe his ass with a toilet brush?
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is. Yeah. And then he gradually gets it closer and closer until he gets it right. And so you go into Das Klo, you'll get to drink out of a bedpan, you'll get a penis nose put on your face by
DJ Andy.
DJ Andy, that's right. I'd forgotten his name. He loves it. And then maybe your table will
I don't know if I've
bounce up and down. I'm sure that if DJ, I don't know what
hydraulics,
the German equivalent of the Order of the British Empire or the Order of Australia is, but I'm sure DJ Andy's in the running for whatever it is.
I took my Uncle David there last year as well, and he was so excited because he had heard about it on the podcast, and he was also delighted to find out that it was a couple of blocks from where they were staying. I think he thought it just could have been in any location in Berlin. And then we were walking. He said, "Oh, well, let's go to this restaurant together in Charlottenburg." And so I met them at the apartment they were staying in, and we walked like 3 blocks. And I went from their apartment. I was like, "That's the toilet bar." And he was like, "What?" And then we had dinner, and he said, after dinner, we're going straight there. And so we did. He absolutely loved it. But the story that I was referring to was when we were in there, you'll remember that I think it was a Russian couple that had come in, and they had a young child that was misbehaving in Das Klo. And Das Klo is not a child-friendly environment. They seem to have made an allowance for this one particular boy. Very kind of them. They said, we'll let this little boy in, let him experience the magic of Das Klo. But he was not being minded by his parents at all. And he gave off that vibe of a child that's received no discipline or boundaries in his life whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because he was running around and jumping up and down on all of the mannequins and various other toilet themed objects and items which adorn the walls and ceiling of Das Klo. And as was pointed out by the waiter, a lot of that stuff is really old. Some of it's from the 1970s.
From the 70s.
And DJ Andy in the booth noticed the kid doing this and said to the waiting staff, you better go over there and tell that couple to keep their child in line. And so the waiter, I think, had given them a warning, and the parents just ignored it. And then there was a moment where it was a bit more tense. And then I think he gave them a third warning where the waiter just went, because they were just ignoring him. They were just going, yeah, whatever. And the kid was just whizzing past us and kicking things. It was almost like a parody of a child misbehaving in a movie. Like when you'd see a child misbehaving in a movie where it's like punching people in the shins and stuff like that. That's what this kid was doing.
And like just whizzing around like a whirling dervish. He couldn't sit still.
Yeah. And then the waiter said, you must keep your child in order. This is not appropriate. This is an adult venue. We've let you in, and I've asked you to keep your child. Some of this stuff is very expensive. You must stop your child from running around. And then the Russian father just said to him, don't tell me what to do with my son. Who are you to teach and guide him? Which is just a great line. Both adding sort of teach and guide in the same sentence.
Who are you to teach and guide him?
Like as if the waiter
more often than you'd expect.
As if there was some threat that the waiter was going to take him off on some kind of quest for years where he was going to guide him. Who are you? You think, are you going to take my son away and guide him in the ways of life, in the ways of man?
Exactly. The waiter was it's like the dispute between a stepfather and a biological father. The waiter was like trying to supplant his role as parent.
Like Homer with the bigger brother with Bart and Pepsi. Exactly.
That's right.
And so that's an example of what's quite typical in Germany. Germany has a big telling off culture. It's very normal here and all the expats will tell you, it's very normal in German culture from my observation. You get told off a lot. People are very comfortable with conflict that everybody assumes that it will not lead to violence. I'm not sure how this has come about, but culturally over years, over hundreds of years, they've developed this kind of culture where you can be quite verbally aggressive to one another, and there's no expectation that men in particular are going to start throwing punches. Because I mean, when I first got here, it blew my mind because I would see people getting into disputes that me as an Australian was just thinking, this is fuck, I'm getting the hell out of here. Someone's going to die. But they would just stand there and men screaming at each other about like somebody had made some slight traffic mistake or somebody put the wrong recycling in the wrong bin or something like that.
I remember when I said to you in Das Klo, I was like, this doesn't look good. And you were like, no, it'll be fine. Because I was like, I've seen this happen in Australia and we probably should just save time and call an ambulance.
So yeah, I've made this point to so many people that in Germany, it blows my mind that they have this. I don't know how healthy it is. I don't know how healthy a kind of telling off kind of culture is, but I guess it is healthy that they are able to express conflict without threat of violence. Anyway, I'm back in Adelaide. I'm having a lovely New Year's Eve dinner with some relatives, and one of my relatives had told a story that she had been in a restaurant some nights earlier, just an Italian pizza restaurant in Prospect, which is quite a nice area where my parents live. So it's just in a pizza restaurant, and she was there with her family, and sure enough, there's a man with maybe 3 kids, and I think he was
Yeah.
just letting them run around. They were whizzing around the restaurant, and an older man who was, I think, with his wife, eventually turned to the father and said, "Oi, mate, you need to control those kids, please." And then, of course, very un-German, the guy just went, "Oh, mate, they're just bloody kids. Just fucking leave them alone. They're just kids." And then he said, the other guy said something else, said, "Oh, come on, you need to control them." And very quickly, the older gentleman stood up out of his chair and put his chest back, as did the father. And they started basically laying into each other, and the whole restaurant staff had to come over and grab them. And the father then was saying to the older gentleman, "Take it out. Let's go outside. Let's go outside. Let's have it. Let's have a fight." So a dad with 3 kids and a little old man in a very relaxed pizza restaurant. That's conflict resolution in Australia, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because we came as, well, not in South Australia, ironically, but we came as convicts, many of us, and we were prevented from having conflict by being kept in separate cells and controlled by prison guards, and we never really learned how to self-regulate. So
I think
there's
there's
also
clearly a different kind of male ego in Australia that's very connected to violence. So in Germany, men, at least in Berlin, it seems that men will just be happy to, you can say to a man, "Hey, you've done something that's upset me. You shouldn't do that." And the other guy will just go, "Yes, I can," or whatever. And then that's the end. Whereas in Australia, if you go, "Hey, I'm telling you, another man, that you can't do something," and he's going to go, "What the fuck did you just fucking say to me? You're telling me what I can do? Well, we'll fucking see about that, mate."
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? I mean, I've never been, well, I guess there's a bit of a barrier for most normal thinking people. They would think, "Oh, this guy is on crutches, so I probably can't pass the punching threshold." That's a slight wrinkle in my male ego if I just punch this guy. But and I've used that to my advantage a couple of times by sort of interposing myself in fights that I thought were brewing between people where I felt like someone was not very well matched and they were going to get their head kicked in, and I will just walk up and go, "What are you guys doing?" or whatever, like just kind of tonally mess with the build-up of violence and hope that I will confuse things to the point where they'll just give up and walk off, which sometimes has worked. And but I mean, imagine kind of being that dad and going, "This person has challenged my parenting, and so now I'm just going to assault him.
My fathering.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to cause him an injury and probably
in front of my
be
kids.
charged." Yeah.
Like imagine those kids. Like imagine if I told you now, if I said to you, "John, when I was 7 years old, I was at an Italian restaurant with my dad and I was running around, and then somebody said to my dad, 'Can you keep your child under control?' And my dad said, 'Fuck you, mate,' and just started fighting him." You'd be like, "What kind of childhood did you have?"
Exactly. Not only can I not keep my children under control, but I can't even keep my own violent impulses under control. There's a thing. I mean, America's a little bit fighty as well compared to Germany, I would say. And there was recently
it's a bit gunny. It's a bit gunnier than over here.
I mean, at least in Australia, no one's getting gunny.
I mean, this is what I always tell people, that you've got these 3 levels. It goes Germany, just yelling at each other, raising your voice. Australia, punching. And then in America, that same situation, somebody just gets killed with a gun.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, Australians would love to just be gunning each other, but the government hasn't given them that option, which is great. But
so America is a bit more punchy.
Yeah, there was I might need to take a minute if we want to find the details, but there was a minor celebrity who was recently involved in a punch-up, and it was basically decided by the local authorities that they wouldn't press charges because they have this, and it depends a bit on the state laws, as to how you're going to be dealt with if you get into a punch up, apparently. But they have this concept, this legal concept, which is pretty much like, if two people mutually consent to beat the shit out of each other and don't involve any third parties or damage any property, then it's fine because,
Wow.
it's like, it's not the laws preventing kind of assault, or laws really preventing like innocent parties from being assaulted or property from being damaged. But if you just say, let's take it outside, and everyone who is involved in punching or being punched has consented, then it's okay. And I just found that amazing. That like basically it's the I don't know. It's always been a kind of legal grey area to me. Like if you say to someone, "Let's just have a punch up," I guess it would be the coward's way out to then go. If you lost the fight, then go. I'm gonna have you charged with assault. Whereas if I'd won, I wouldn't do that.
I always stick out as a sore thumb in Germany as an Australian with my approach to conflict, just because it's in my bones. It's how I was raised. So when I get home to my apartment, if my neighbor says, "Hey, you can't leave your wet shoes outside of your apartment in the building to dry," I just headbutt him. I've always headbutted him. I don't even say. I say. He goes, "Excuse me. It seems you know that you're not allowed to leave the shoes outside of your door. This is not part of the rules of the building. You need to put the shoes inside." And I go, "Oh, I need to put the fucking shoes inside." Do them. Bang.
Oh yeah, is that right, mate? Hey, fucking
go, put the shoes. They go, "I'm sorry.
How about I put my shoe inside of your fucking ass?"
I forgot that you are from Australia. I will go back into my apartment.
Can I? Yeah, I mean, the first time I was in Berlin many years ago, I had this experience that I guess was sort of, I didn't realize was characteristic at the time, but it is, where we went. Shout out to Harley. He and I went out. Who's a listener. We went to this restaurant where it was one of those restaurants where it was kind of set up to be a pay what you feel type situation. So you could have a bottle of wine and some snacks, and then you could just leave whatever you felt was a just amount to leave. And I guess, in that way it accommodated people who didn't have much money. And so it was this institution, and people seemed, first of all, to be annoyed that there were non-Germans in there. And the guy at the hostel who sort of told us about it was quite reluctant to give details and said, don't abuse it, basically. And then once we did go there, we had a bottle of wine and we were fixing to pay. And this guy next to us leaned over to our table and said, you must at least leave a note. And I was like, look, man, I'm just trying to, why are you...
Before you had even brought any currency out, he had made the assumption that you were some...
He just was like, you guys are going to fuck us.
Tight-ass foreigner.
Yeah. I was like, pay what you feel. All right, how about 1 cent?
I did. I done a drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
I done a rainbow for you for the wine.
Yeah. And I thought, Harley and I were like, well, this is why restaurants just introduced prices, isn't it? Because when you just leave it up to what people feel, then you get this kind of violent disparity in expectations. And so I'd rather you just tell me what it costs and then have this moralistic conversation with another diner. But anyway, that was obviously him being very German in that situation. But can I take you to a good news story from the new year, which I think illustrates well?
I love this. Segue. I think it's pronounced Segue. I love that Segue, John. You've been working on your Segues over Christmas.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice counterpoint to naughty children and poorly behaved children. I think it's a young child who is a relatively young child who has done great things, and it's a kind of upbeat story for the new year because I think it gives us all hope. and it concerns a 13-year-old named Blue Scooty. That's how he's known. It's not his name on his birth certificate, I don't think.
Okay.
And what's Blue Scooty achieved? Well, 34 years after the official release of the game Tetris on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Scooty has beaten Tetris. And basically nobody had ever gotten to the point where Tetris would just break because you'd done so many levels that it couldn't take you any further. And that was the kind of holy grail of the Tetris World Championship series, which I didn't even know existed. I had played a version of the game Tetris, I think probably on Game Boy, but the NES edition of the game apparently is the kind of classic one that's used for World Championships. And a few years ago, somebody had worked out this method which was called hyper tapping, which was like a way of rapidly moving your finger on the controls so that you could sort of move things quicker than you normally could by sensibly using the control in the game. And so Blue Scooty was, I think, using this relatively new method. And he got to level 157. And apparently once you get to that level, there's like a 73% chance that you will crash the game, which is what happened. And it's basically, that's considered having beaten the game. Like in Pac-Man, apparently there's also what they call a kill screen where you've gone too far for the development for the game code and it fucks up. So Blue Scooty made Tetris give up pretty much. And I mean, theoretically, there will be people who might be able to go further and get past level 157. But for now, it's I'm pretty sure it's the first time that this kill screen has been activated.
That's great. How long, John? 34 years. Tetris, that NES version of Tetris, has been around?
That's right. So it must be 1989, 1990 that it's been around, and
he's 13,
and he's a 13-year-old, which I also love because he's not some like middle-aged nerd who played Tetris as a kid. He's a newcomer to the game of Tetris, and imagine how proud you'd be if you were the developer of Tetris, probably now in your 70s, just going, man, there are still world championships where people play this fairly simplistic game.
Is there video footage of him doing it? And does it like I was kind of picturing a crowd going in, like a crowd of nerds just losing their mind, going,
yeah, let me
Tetris kill screen.
Yeah, I can see a little still here, which appears to show a guy holding his hands behind his head in disbelief who could be Blue Scooty. So I reckon there might be. I'd like to find out what hyper tapping looks like and what kind of physical toll Blue Scooty has paid for this achievement. Like, will he get early onset arthritis?
He's shaved. He's beaten Tetris, but he shaved 20 years off of his life in the process.
Right. He didn't stop moving his hands for 72 hours.
He's 13, but he looks 50.
Exactly. Yeah.
La 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 la. Surely that's imagine all the ladies he'll get. Imagine 13-year-old Blue Scooty. He's gonna be the first one of all of his friends.
You're gonna get that Scooty tang.
Have it. I love that story, John. That's a great way to bring in 2020. I'm going to look that up. That's very intriguing to me. I can also recommend, you've reminded me of the Smash Brothers documentary that's on YouTube. Some YouTubers years ago made this Smash Brothers documentary. And similarly, there was a thing in Super Smash Brothers, I think in Super Smash Brothers, there were all of these unintended techniques that people discovered after the game was released. The programmers had just made some game that they thought essentially kids would play, and then it just became this cult thing where people realized it was a really amazing battle game for strategy and technique, and people worked out all of these techniques that were just never intended. They were kind of glitches in the programming, and similarly, it's called something like hyper dashing or something. And somebody was saying, suddenly so and so started to dominate because he's the one who discovered hyper dashing, which sounds very similar to this hyper tapping thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's kind of like a book that people start to read new things into that the author didn't intend. I kind of love that. Apparently
it's beautiful.
It's quite beautiful. Apparently there are. I'm just looking over. There are 255 levels. So if you get to 255, then it just loops back to level 1. So it could theoretically be done, but I think it's virtually humanly impossible because the Tetris gets so difficult, and also I'm pretty sure that AI has maybe shown that it's possible, but it's another way that it's humiliating its human comparators by just beating us at 35-year-olds NES games.
I've got a feel good story that I can throw in as well, John, to lead us right into 2024, because Don't Praise the Machine very much started off as a podcast where we intended to speak a lot about technology and culture and our changing relationship with technology and the way that technology's affecting our lives and the world at large, which it very much still does focus on those themes. So congratulations to you and me for titling, particularly you. You're the one that came up with the title, nabbing it from Best Show of All Time, name of Simpsons. And it's a very aptly titled podcast, and this is a very aptly appropriate segment. So I was listening in the week to another tech-based podcast that I love, which is called This Week in Startups with Jason Calacanis. And as you can imagine, it's a podcast about startups. And so it's a lot of technology that is being discussed. And he had a guest on, and they were discussing their predictions for 2024, tech-based predictions. And one of the predictions that one of the guests had for Jason, he said, I'll make a bet with you. I believe that by the end of the year, there will be a Billboard Hot 100. That's the American official music chart for anybody out there. I believe that there will be a Billboard Hot 100 song entirely generated by AI. So I think they were suggesting that the lyrics, voice, instruments would all be generated by AI. So not necessarily AI elements. I can't remember exactly what the rules of it were, but they said that was his bet. And then he said, the reason I think this will happen is because, have you encountered this platform called Suno AI? And I had not heard of this. I think it's fairly new, but Suno AI, it's a prompt-based AI music generator. So we've previously talked on the cast about how you can now impersonate a person's voice by sampling the voice into the computer, and then you can do some text prompts and it spits the voice back out. And I also talked about how you can sing a song in your own voice, say sentences in your own voice, and you can then replace your voice with the voice of a celebrity or somebody's voice that you've sampled. This operates entirely by text prompts. So you tell it, for example, the style of music that you want and what you want it to write a song about. And I'll just play you a couple of examples because I went in and I had a great old time. So I've got the lyrics in front of me. Some of them are very clear, but some of them I might have to tell you afterwards what the lyrics actually were. But the first one I'm going to play, I said to Suno.ai, very simple text prompt. This is all that I gave it. This is the only input. I said a pop punk song about fidget spinners. Okay?
Yep.
That was it. And it gave me a song with a title. The title it gave me was Spinning Out of Control is the name of the song. And it sounds a little something like this.
I'm fidgeting, twisting on the tallest spin. Got this little gadget, it's my favorite thing. Round and round it goes, blurring colors in the air. Distracting thoughts, I can't help but stare. Spin, spin, spin around, feel the energy. Fidget spinners got me caught up in a frenzy. Lost in style, I'm going wild and free. Spinning out of control, won't you catch me?
Yeah. So it's gone. I'm fidgeting, twisting. My mind's on a spin. Got this little gadget. It's my favorite thing. Round and round it goes, burning colors in the air, distracting thoughts. I can't help but stare. Spin, spin, spin around, feel the energy. Fidget spinners got me caught up in a frenzy, lost in time. I'm going wild and free, spinning out of control. Won't you catch me? So that is fucking amazing.
That's wild.
So I'll talk a little bit more about what I think is going on here and how advanced this is getting, but I have a few more examples for you that you're absolutely gonna love. So the next one I think I'm gonna play you is Shadows of, I think this is called Shadows of Berlin or Shadows. So I said to it, an acoustic, this is my prompt. So just so everybody knows, the most famous techno nightclub in Berlin is called Berghain. It's world famous. It's often memed because it's this kind of very difficult to get into techno nightclub that's all about hedonism and craziness. So I said, write me an acoustic modern indie folk song about the Berlin nightclub Berghain. And it gave me a song that it called, I think it's called Shadows of Berghain or Shadows of Berlin. And it's done a pretty good job. The only thing I will mention is that because Berghain is a very German word, it sort of says Bergen. So when you hear it kind of go Bergen, it's trying to say Berghain. But this is an acoustic modern indie folk song about the Berlin nightclub Berghain.
In the depths of Berlin, where the shadows dance, there's a place they call Berghain, but hearts lost in trance, where the beats are low and the lights are dim. I find solace in the music as it pulls me in. Berghain, my sanctuary in the night, where I let go of my fears and I feel alive. Melodies whisper softly, they touch my soul.
Wow.
In the depths of Berghain, I find myself whole. So again, I'll just read you the chorus. So the chorus goes, "Oh Berghain, my sanctuary in the night, where I let go of my fears and I feel alive. The melodies whisper softly, they touch my soul. In the depths of Berghain, I find myself whole."
Wow. How long is it taking to come up with this? Are we talking about seconds?
It's taking, this is the thing, John. I did write to you before the cast and I said, if you have any prompts that you want me to give it, I can show you exactly how long it takes to do it.
Yeah. Fuck.
So do you have any ideas? While you're thinking, I can play you another one if you want, which I think you'll quite like.
I love hearing them.
This one's fucking great. I said a dub reggae song about Hilaria Baldwin pretending to be Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is a jam. You're going to nod your head to this. This one is called, again, it gave me this title. It said this one's called Island Impersonation. Rastafari.
In the land of the islands, a story unfolded.
Selassie.
About a woman named Hilaria, her truth was untold.
About a woman named Hilaria, her truth was untold.
Pretending to be Spanish, a cultural charade.
A cultural charade.
But the truth came to light and hide in the shade.
You can't hide in the shade, can't hide in the shade.
Your lies have been revealed.
Hilaria, your lies have been revealed.
Stop pretending. The truth has been unsealed.
This is
The truth has
wild.
been unsealed, unsealed.
Spain to America.
Spain to America.
May change.
Your accent may change. Selector.
Won't erase your strange fate.
Your accent may change.
That's so good. So I'll read you
Right.
those lyrics because these ones in particular are fantastic. So it goes, in the land of the island, a story unfolded about a woman named Ilaria. Her truth was untold, pretending to be Spanish, a cultural charade. But the truth came to light, can't hide in the shade. Oh, Hilaria, your lies have been revealed. No more pretending the truth has been unsealed. From Spain to America, your accent may change, but the island vibes won't erase your strange range. Isn't that insane?
That is
And it's
fucking
and like,
amazing.
and you nod your head to it. I'm going to play it again.
Yeah.
Rewind.
The land of the islands, a story unfolding. About a woman named Hilaria, her truth was untold.
Bo.
Pretending to be Spanish, a cultural charade.
Cultural charade.
But the truth came to light and hide in the
Ye
shade.
can hide in the shade.
Oh,
This is great.
Hilaria,
So good.
no more pretending.
Wow.
The truth has been unsealed.
Truth has been unsealed.
incredible.
From Spain to America,
Spin to America.
may change.
Selassie.
The island vibes won't erase your strange fate.
Nice.
Man, how good's that?
So, I mean, the thing that jumps to mind is, let's say you're at a party for your friend's
Yeah.
birthday. Just say to it, sing a song
man.
about my friend now for his birthday in his favorite
Yeah.
style of music.
Totally.
And include these details. Straight away, you got.
So, do you want to
birthday
give
song.
me a prompt? Give me a prompt, and I will. We can listen to it together. I'll put the prompt in, generate
Yeah.
the song, input it into the soundboard, and play
Yeah.
it to, and we can listen to it at the same time.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a few ideas, and just to explain
Okay.
to the listeners, you didn't give me much. You just said to me this morning, come up with a few, and we'll see what we can do. And I didn't really know what I was in for. But okay, so the first one, which we might want to try, is we did an earlier episode where we made up a wrap-up rap about the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, and I thought maybe we could give that task to the machine and see how it goes
Yeah.
with its own
Excellent.
wrap-up rap.
So let's think about this. So this, I'll just give you a warning as well. I'd say 70% of them are good, and 30% of
Okay.
them turn out being quite bad. And my guess is also just through experimenting with it a little bit, I'm pretty sure that it's been trained on like generic stock music as opposed to the music of actual artists, because I tried to get it to perform songs that sounded like Bob Dylan in the 1960s, and it was giving me stuff that sounded like Jason Mraz. I mean, when you think of that kind of very shiny, so I'm guessing that maybe for legal reasons they've just used stock music. There'd be somebody that would have made the kind of music that
A jingle.
like low grade department stores play when
Yeah.
they can't afford ASCAP or BMI licenses.
Yeah.
So let's have a go, and we'll try. So have you got 3 there? We'll do this first one, and we'll see how it goes, and people can hear if it's good or bad. So what's the prompt that we should give it? Should we say? Should we say just a rap?
Yeah. A rap about the plot of the film Mrs. Doubtfire might be the
Okay,
simplest way to do it.
Okay, so I'll put a rap about the plot of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, do you want to give it a style of rap? Do you want to tell it to be trap or boom bap or
What would be the kind of like maybe a sort of vintagey, like a kind of Grandmaster Flashy style, because that's probably what the form that a wrap-up rap might take, right?
Okay, so I'm going to say an old school. An old school rap song about the plot of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire.
Great.
And I'm clicking create. Actually, I'm going to do this on my watch. So I've got the timer here. So I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to hit start on my stopwatch. So create, I've pressed play on my stopwatch. I also forgot it does this. It gives you 2 different versions. So I will.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so it's already done the first one. I'm downloading it now. It's just allowing me to. It's just completing the full track, and then it will let me download. Oh, Hilaria, your lies have been revealed. How good's that?
Cultural charade.
So good.
I'd love to just.
Okay, here we go. Download audio. And I'm going to do the second one, download audio. And then I'm going to load both of these into our podcast. So the first one is called Doubtfire Flow. And the second one is called, Okay, so you ready for this? So we're listening to this together for the first time. Okay, here we go.
Can't wait.
Yo, listen up. I got a story to tell about a man named Daniel, dressed up so well. He was down on his luck. His life was in a rut, but he had a plan. He was about to strut. Mrs. Doubtfire, that was the disguise. Daniel became right before our eyes with the wig on his head and the voice so deep. He fooled everyone, even that shrink creep. Mrs. Doubtfire, you can see this in the fire. Daniel's playing both sides, walking on a wire. He's a jack of all trades, keeping his fam together. Mrs. Doubtfire, the ultimate pretender.
That's incredible.
That is fucking wild.
So I'll read you the lyrics that it's come up with. So it goes, so listen up, y'all. Obviously, it's got the style a bit wrong again because it doesn't. I think it's not great at older music because I think it's just been fed stock music from the last 5 years. But anyway, I'll read you the lyrics. So the lyrics it gave us were, yo, listen up. I got a story to tell about a man named Daniel dressed up so well. He was down on his luck. His life was in a rut, but he had a plan. He was about to strut. Mrs. Doubtfire, that was the disguise. Daniel became her right before our eyes. With a wig on his head and a voice so deep, he fooled everyone, even that shrink creep. Then the chorus goes, Mrs. Doubtfire keeping secrets in the fire. Daniel playing both sides, walking on a wire. He's a jack of all trades, keeping his fam together. Mrs. Doubtfire, the ultimate pretender. Let's have a listen again.
That's nuts.
Now that you know. Oh, yeah. He's put us out of a job, John.
Listen up. I got a story to tell about a man named Daniel.
Dressed up so well. He was down on his luck. His life was in a rut.
But he had a plan. He was about to strut. Mrs. Doubtfire,
that was his disguise.
Daniel became right before
our eyes.
With the wig on his head
and a voice so deep. He fooled everyone, even that shrink creep.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Is there a shrink creep?
I don't know what a shrink creep is.
Keeping his fam together.
Keeping his fam together. This is quite listenable.
Yeah, no, it's fucking terrifying. Okay, so I got the next one. So it's done us another one. This one's called.
Okay, great.
So that first one, everybody would have recognized as Doubtfire Flow, an absolute classic. And this one is called Runnin' Wild with Mrs. Doubtfire.
Listen up, y'all, gather round the fire. Gonna tell a tale about a man who's a liar. Daniel Hillard, a father in distress, divorced and alone, feeling second best. He needed a way back into his kid's life, so he dressed up like a nanny and caused some strife. With a British accent and a grandma wig, he became Mrs. Doubtfire, bigger than Biggie Dig. Running wild, Mrs. Doubtfire, hopping on a ride, turning chaos into laughter, becoming a side sire, acting like a nanny by day, dad by night. Mrs. Doubtfire, bringing families back to life.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's incredible.
So So
I think
again, listen up, y'all. Gather around the fire. Going to tell you a tale about a man who's a liar. Daniel Hill had a father in distress, divorced and alone, feeling second best. He needed a way back to his kid's life, so he dressed up like a nanny and caused some strife. With a British accent and a grandma wig, he became Mrs. Doubtfire, bigger than Biggie Dig. I mean, you and me spent weeks on the track that we made, and you will recall that you developed a newfound appreciation for hip-hoppery because of how difficult not only writing the rhymes were, but then the performance of them and getting the cadence right. And this thing has done it in 20 seconds. What do you think about that? Yeah.
it's
What do you
scary.
want to say about that?
I think this might be the most impressive manifestation of the AI revolution yet, because nobody's going to be writing jingles anymore, are they? That's done.
Yeah.
Nobody's
So
going to be. I mean, one of the reasons the rap declined was the crippling expense of paying professional rappers to put raps over your credits.
I thought I could play. Have you got another prompt at the ready?
Got a couple
Perhaps before you say that, I'll do one that also came out really well. So I said, "Dear Asuno AI, can you please do me a song, and that song needs to be a pop punk song about the podcast Don't Praise the Machine."
Oh, great.
And it spat out this, and it's called Podcast Rebellion. And perhaps I'll even just, the lyrics are quite clear, but I'm going to just tell them to you before you hear it so that everybody can just enjoy it without having to struggle to hear the lyrics. So the lyrics go, "I've got a voice, I've got a lot to say, won't back down, won't let them pave the way. The system's rigged, it's time to wake up. Podcast revolution, let's shake it up. Don't praise the machine, we won't go silent. Our thoughts are free, we won't be compliant. They try to control, but we shout it out loud. For the podcast revolution, for the podcast rebellion, we stand proud."
Just got a voice, I've got a lot to say. We won't back down, won't let them pave the way. The system's rigged, it's time to wake up. Podcast revolution, let's shake it up. Don't praise the
Classic
machine,
Sum 41.
silence. Our thoughts are free, we won't be compliant. They try to control, but we shout it loud. For the podcast revolution, we stand proud.
Wow.
I've been banging out to that one every day. It's even got it even does that classic pop punk thing where it goes from the full punk rhythm to the half step to the half step in the chorus, so it's it's the na, 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 we got a lot to say, and then when it goes into the half step for the chorus, that classic like Blink 182 kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
It occurs to me the name Don't Praise the Machine comes from that Simpsons clip, which is about the machine that could read the news or pretend to be like DJs, right? It's called the DJ 3000.
Yeah, I think it was called the DJ 3000.
And this kind of is that, but it's like that times a million. And I'm praising it. I'm a big fan.
Do you have another prompt that you want me to put in real time, John?
Sure. Jacinta's reminding me that we have lunch plans, but I said, can I just do one more prompt? She said yes. So here we go. I've got a few, and maybe you can.
She said, "You live a weird life, John, but I love you very much."
Exactly. She left out the last bit. Okay. I've got, now tell me this, could you do it? Could you make it do, maybe this is a while to come, but could you make it do a certain voice or voice style? Like what if you said, I want Arnold Schwarzenegger to do a rap?
Yeah. So again, because I assume because it's concerned at the moment with copyright, it doesn't let you put in, because I asked it, can you sing like Bob Dylan? And it said,
Yeah.
we don't do actual artists, just tell us a
Right.
style.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I've got a few options here, and you can maybe pick your favorite.
Okay.
First one, I've got, can I have a rap about, we might vary that.
yours are all raps.
Mine are all raps about, because I was thinking it would be done in the style of Marky Mark, rapping about the sponsorship deal between Mark Wahlberg and Catholic prayer app Hello. Second one, a crooning Sinatra-style number that reflects on the fact that True Lies 2 was never made because of 9/11. And number number three, because I was trying to think of things that we'd talked about on our show. The number three is Will Smith. I was going to suggest it be done in his voice, but now that I've clarified, it could just be a soulful R&B number about how Will Smith is trying to be a river to his people, but he can't stop slapping people.
Okay, so I'm going to put a soulful R&B song about how Will Smith wants to be a river to his people, but he can't stop what, John?
Slapping people.
Can't stop slapping people.
Or maybe just can't stop slapping would be good.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to hit...
Man, this is a real... You could spend hours doing this, couldn't you? It's so good.
So, okay, I've got a soulful R&B song about how Will Smith wants to be a river to his people, but he can't stop slapping people. And then I'm going to go create. So, again, I'm going to just put my timer on create. And it's going... okay, so it's saying Sono is for generating original... Oh, so it thinks that it wants... Because I've put Will Smith in, it thinks I'm trying to get a song in his voice.
Yeah, okay. How do we make it?
So
how do we reassure
How about
it?
just make it up on the spot? Let's think about things that we've talked about on the podcast. We'll put a soulful R&B song about...
What about if you just put about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Will it still say that?
I think it won't let me put Will Smith because it thinks I want him... It is seeing his name and thinking Will Smith the musician. And I think it's going, no, I don't do that. So no Will Smith.
All right, no Will Smith. Probably no Mark Wahlberg for the same reason, because he's got we've focused a lot on celebrities with like crappy musical careers, unfortunately.
I'm having a look
go
here.
Back to the Arnie idea.
Yeah, what have we got
here? What about
here?
Tom Arnold? He's another Don't Praise the Machine favorite.
Maybe somebody slightly more famous than Tom Arnold. How about...
What about a song about Arnold Schwarzenegger's Love Child?
Okay, so how about... We'll see if it will do that. So Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Maybe in a crooning Sinatra style. You could say like...
Okay, so I'm going to say... Okay, so
a
crooning...
Like a lounge song.
Yeah, a crooner lounge style song about how Arnold Schwarzenegger had an affair with his nanny that resulted in an illegitimate son. Should we try that? Okay, so I have here, this is the exact... I'm just going to click create to see if it does this. Okay, so it's doing it. A crooner lounge-style song about how Arnold Schwarzenegger had an affair. His nanny resulted in an illegitimate son. Okay, so let's have a look. So the first one's called Forbidden Love.
Love it.
And the second one's called The Nanny's Song. So... So it's just loading now, and
we could even sign out with this song.
Yeah. So let's play them both, and then you can go and you can just say to Jacinta, I'm just telling an AI to make a song about Arnold Schwarzenegger's illegitimate son. I'll
Yeah.
be at dinner and I'll be late to dinner.
I'll be late to dinner. That's right. This is my job, okay? I'm trying to put food on the table for this family.
Okay, so let's try Forbidden Love.
Yeah.
Hang on, how do I do this? So I just move the little soundboard over there. Load this up here. Okay, so let's have a listen to Forbidden Love. Just a reminder, a crooner lounge style song about how Arnold Schwarzenegger had an affair with his nanny that resulted in an illegitimate son. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give it up for the jazz smooth crooner lounge song Forbidden Love?
Oh, yeah. Smooth.
In the city of angels where the light shines so bright, there stood a man, a legend, a star in the night. But behind the scenes, a secret affair between him and his nanny, a love they could not share. Oh yeah, baby, forbidden love, but tale untold. Oh baby, in the shadows, secrets unfold. Secrets unfold. A child conceived, a life unknown. Unknown. In the arms of deceit, this love has grown. Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
good.
beautiful.
Forbidden
I'm
Love,
imagining-
a tale untold in the shadows, secrets unfold, a child conceived, a life unknown, in the arms of deceit, this love has grown. And now, tonight's final cut off the album, Arnold Schwarzenegger's illegitimate son with the nanny. This was the third single off that album, if memory
Yeah.
serves. This one's called The Nanny's Song. Maybe this is from her perspective. Okay, so here we go. Last one.
In sunny Cali, where
Oh.
the palm trees sway,
Dubby.
there lived a man with a famous face. So big, he had it all, a Hollywood star. But behind closed doors, a secret left a scar. Oh, Arnold, what have you done? You're hiding an affair with the nanny, our secret son. The world was shocked, couldn't believe it was true. Oh, Arnold, we thought we knew you.
Arnold,
That
we
was
thought
great.
we knew you. How true.
Yeah. So for some reason, it's done it in a dub reggae style. Again, my guess is that at the moment it has a very limited amount of styles that it's
Yeah.
got dialed in.
Yeah.
And it's just going to them because it's obviously gone
Still.
there again with a dub reggae style.
But I loved it. Hit
But
me
you
in the
absolutely loved it,
feels.
John. You've got what are you eating tonight?
Well, it's only lunchtime today
Oh.
in Brooklyn, so we're going to go probably get some baked treats and then go to the Met Cloisters, show sponsor the Metropolitan Museum. Even though we did that episode about how
sweet.
the Met Gala is a disgrace, they still came to us for a plug.
Such is our impact that even though we absolutely slag people off, they still come to us begging for sponsorship, and we take it because the money is so good, and we are total shills. We don't give a shit. But before we close out, John, two things to mention. We are recording this episode in video as we actually have the last few episodes as we've been ironing out a few technical details, getting comfortable in front of the camera. And so I'm going to call this right now. I'm calling my shot because I've not been confident enough to do this in the last few weeks because we've recorded the episodes quite close to the release date, and I don't quite know yet how to video edit a podcast, but I am recording this with you on Friday night, which means I have 3 full days to learn how to edit a podcast in video in DaVinci Resolve. So I'm committing to do that this weekend. I'm going to be able to do it, which means that to anybody who's listening to this episode, perhaps I should have said this at the front of the show, actually. I'm going to try and make it the first episode that we've ever done that is uploaded in full in video on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We're going to video so that we can be much more discoverable so that all those DPTMers out there can see our beautiful faces. I even put a little bit of product in my hair for today.
So did I.
Me and John tried to get the lighting. Oh, okay, cool. We're starting with the hair. We're going to go to the teeth, eventually the full ploofs. Get ready for two beautiful balloon-headed men by the end of 2024. We're going to be smooth. We're going to have that Madonna head by the end of the year. So you should be able to check this out in video form on the interwebs, and I'll also try and snip a few bits out for the social medias. And the other thing that I'm committing to, John, I'm happy to tell you that I contacted our web hosting provider today, Namecheap. I want to give a shout out to them because they did a great job with customer support. I was having a bit of an issue and I just jumped on the little chat window and said, it's not connecting. My internet's not getting sites. And they said, all right, old man, just give us a second. And I said, it's not working. No site is available. And they said, what about now? Have you moved your ukulele off the computer? And I did. Sites are available. So the other thing I'm going to say is that by the time this episode comes out, we should have a mailing list sign-up form as a placeholder for what will eventually be the DPTM website. You can always email us if you want. At the moment, the email is functioning perfectly. You can get us, as I've mentioned a few times, at hello@dptm.org. That's hello@dptm.org. We'd love to hear from you. Also, just to let everybody know, I did receive everybody's emails that were suggestions about me creating an AI mashup of a certain singer's voice with a certain song. And we had a few people email through. So I will be doing that as well over the next few weeks. So don't worry, your emails are very much getting read. We read all of them, even though it takes me absolutely days. It's me and Colin, the producer. So hello@dptm.org. But by the time you hear this on Tuesday, there should be a email list sign-up form because we're going to start sending you a few little emails here and there. And the website is the same domain as the email address. It's dptm.org. That's dptm.org. If you got your phone there, jump on right now. There should be a very simple form. As I'm talking to you, you can jump throw your email address in there, and then we'll be able to send you all types of goodies, and you'll be part of this community. John, do you want to say anything else before I play us out?
I want to thank you on behalf of myself and all our listeners for your efforts in advance of our first video episode. That's very exciting, and I can't wait to see it and critically evaluate my face and my features to discern what might be the best kind of low-hanging fruit for cosmetic procedures this year.
Excellent. And I'm going to play us out with Podcast Revolution, the pop punk song about the podcast Don't Praise the Machine that you love so dear. Guys, when it gets to the chorus and it goes to the half-step rhythm, I want you to bang your heads and I want you to turn it up real loud, make the metal devil's fists. And thank you so much, everybody. We can't wait to see you next week at the podcast.
I've got a voice, I've got a lot to say. Won't back down, won't let